Welcome. Today I'm sharing with you a practice that builds upon the fundamental breath awareness exercise and does so drawing upon something that has become a part of our day to day lives and will be for a little while to come. Perhaps in some ways, as we move out and about into public environments where there'll be more and more people, even more so. And this is the mask that I'm referring to. And so let me briefly describe what it is that we'll be doing, and then I'll guide us through a practice period so that you might from time to time do so similarly on your own. I'm not suggesting that every time you sit and practice, you do it in this way. Rather, this can be a helpful assist to facilitate a little bit more of a mindful connection and engagement to the breath and translate into a way of being a little bit more present when we're out and about, as I indicated, and can be drawn upon from time to time in that regard. And so we will draw upon and use this mask, which we oftentimes see as a source of disconnection, isolation, separation, lack of intimacy, to actually create a greater intimacy, a greater connection with ourselves. When we do a breath awareness practice, we are attending to, we are cultivating a greater present moment awareness of the experience of breathing and being aware of and attentive to the breath as it flows through the body. This breath is very subtle. It's sometimes imperceptible. It doesn't really capture our attention. It's chosen for that reason. It requires us to muster the attentional energy and momentum to stay with an object as seemingly neutral and uninteresting as the breath. Now, when we put the mask on, it's going to be a little bit more salient, this breath. The flow of air is going to be somewhat encumbered. It's a little bit uncomfortable, but at the same time, it perhaps can serve as a greater and more persistent reminder that we're breathing. And so if the basic mindfulness practice known as the breath awareness or focused attention practice is to direct attention to the sensations of the breath, and when we realize our mind has wandered, to come back to it, this is the same practice but while wearing a mask, appreciating that the mask can be helpful in that regard. Now, in a moment, we'll begin by putting the mask on. I'll guide a short practice, and we can see what it's like to have it where the sensations of the breath at the level of the nostrils can be a meaningful object of our attention, even with the mask on, perhaps in some ways maybe even a more useful one. Now, oftentimes when one is attending to the sensations of the breath flowing through the body, it might be at the belly as it expands and softens with the breath, or the chest, or the throat, or the mouth, and the mouth can certainly be a part of this practice. So somewhere here, somewhere at the level of the nostrils, the inner nostril, where the mask meets the nose as the air flows in and out, the mouth itself, because sometimes with the encumbered flow of air, we're more likely to take a breath through the mouth to bring in more oxygen. Whatever that may be, have it be that the attention is directed here. So let us have our mask handy and or get our mask. And if you don't have your mask handy, go ahead and pause this so you can get your mask and then come back here. And so let us begin our practice by bringing ourselves into a posture that's upright and stable, aware of the posture, placing the mask on as we lower or close our eyes, resting attention on the sensations of the breath meeting the nose, which will call for, and always does call for, a real interested engagement, curious, whatever word you want to use, whatever the feeling is, that quality of mind of really being interested in these sensations. as we breathe. And because you may be familiar with and practiced in mindfulness and breath awareness, draw upon whatever approach, technique, way of being in relationship to the breath, allowing the mask to be a part of the practice, allowing the flow of air while wearing a mask to inform the practice. And if this is new to you, allow the experience of the sensations of the breath within the mask itself be the object that you're paying attention to. There's a movement, there's a fluidity, there's a temperature, a warmth perhaps. There's a pressure. Be present for this experience for the next several minutes. And when you realize that your mind has wandered away, gently return your attention to the sensations of the breath. Breathing. Aware of the sensations of the breath meeting the body. We have the capacity to direct our attention where we choose, and we have the capacity to redirect our attention when we realize our mind has wandered. But we don't really have the capacity to stop our mind from wandering. The directing of attention with the intention to sustain attention, and then the redirecting of attention can condition less mind wandering, a more durable, stable attention. So for the next few minutes as this practice comes to a close, know that you'll bookend mind wandering with the directed attention to the sensations of the breath and the redirecting of attention to the sensations of the breath, and in between, well, it'll be what it'll be as we breathe. the body sitting, aware of the breath flowing through the body. And when you're ready, in the next moment or two, with an awareness of doing so, lifting the gaze, opening the eyes. And through practices like this, without having to try so hard, we can find ourselves feeling more grateful. Grateful to be alive when so many aren't. Grateful to have a mask, as many do not, or don't have as much easy access to a mask, or to a mask that's as helpful. And as we close this practice, to bring to mind, bring to heart, perhaps one more thing that we're grateful for. So, from time to time, you may want to have the mask be a part of the practice. And where this can translate into something useful outside of the sitting practice or standing practice, of course, this can be done in many ways. When you're out and about and you're wearing a mask, you may find that you choose to direct your attention to the sensations of the breath. Oftentimes, we'll do this with a little bit of mindful awareness because you'll be wearing the mask and you might find yourself frustrated by something or angry about something or just lost in mind wandering. And in those moments, whether you're at the grocery store or whether you're at your office or whether you're at a park or whether you're walking and getting a little exercise, when you realize that you've become a little bit agitated, a little bit lost in thoughts, the mask that's right there is an instant reminder to come back to an object like the breath, which can be a steadying agent as we go about the day. Often we don't have a steadying anchor. And so it can be useful to do so, especially when we find ourselves in moments where we're not staying on task or we're a little bit lost, worried about things that may never happen or caught up in things that happened earlier in the day. So let this mask be part of the practice, and let the fact that you're wearing it be a reminder of the practice, and let the way that the air becomes a little bit constrained within the mask be part of what you're paying attention to, and see how this might influence and in some ways positively affect those very moments, as well as serving as opportunities to practice and further develop and reinforce the skills associated with a steadier attention and capacity to sustain attention where we choose. Wishing you all the best.